Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our afternoon here on day one of JAM. This session is going to focus on BCCAT's technology roadmap. Joining me for this presentation is Jennifer Cook, who is our Manager of Technology Services. And if you've already forgotten, I'm Mike Winsman. I'm the Director of Transfer and Technology for BCCAT. The intention behind this session is to go over some of the things that we have accomplished this year on the technology front, and also talk a little bit about where we're going, both for the TCS as well as for the BC Transfer Guide. So to start things off, I just want to talk a little bit about our major accomplishment, the Atomic TCS. So for those of you that were at JAM last year, you saw me give a demo of the work in progress that we were calling the Atomic TCS. That TCS finally got lifted off in July of this year. We were very excited to have that initiative finally come and get released out into the wild. The Atomic TCS is a major step forward for us in terms of the data model and the type of efficiencies that we want to achieve with regards to the transfer system. It brings in a brand new data model that breaks down data that was previously contained in more text-based format. It introduced a ton of automations and improvements that helped improve the workflow. It was really rewarding to finally see it come to light. I just want to thank all the people that participated in the user acceptance testing. It's really rewarding to know that we have a community where when we do a call out for volunteers, asking people to help us test and give us feedback, we always end up with more people than we know what to do with. And that's always an encouraging sign. And so I want to thank everybody that participated in the user acceptance testing throughout May and June. We were able to incorporate a lot of additional features based on that feedback, both before the launch as well as after the launch in the months that preceded the launch of TCS. Since we launched in July, we've had over 5,000 new agreements created. We've had every institution participate. And I think that in general, all the feedback we've received has been extremely positive. One of the things that we learned in the lead up to the release of the TCS was that there is a need for regular training and basically just updating people on what's going on with the TCS. There were a lot of features that we went over during the training session that were not necessarily new, but there were a lot of users that were unfamiliar with some of those features, so they came across as new. And we were willing to take credit for that, but the reality is what it reinforced for us was that regular training sessions are something that we are going to be building into our work plan. We actually had our first quarterly training session at the end of September. We had about 30 people attend that meeting. And our intention is to run a training session every quarter, just so that people, if they are new to TCS or new to the transfer credit world, they can have an orientation and view all the different features that are available to them as they process articulation arrangements. So that was a major accomplishment. And what I'm going to do now is turn it over to Jennifer Cook, who's going to speak a little bit about some of the other things that we've accomplished this year. And then we're going to talk about where we're going in terms of our technology roadmap.
Thanks, Mike. Talking about the BCCAT refresh, at the end of February, we launched the refreshed BCCAT website, and that work involved giving the website a bit of a new look and feel, and we revised the information architecture of the site, as well as defined a page layout template with the hope that both of those changes would assist with site and page navigation. So we know that sometimes it's difficult to engage with content on a website if it's quite text heavy, particularly where one presumes or contains more sector specific language and awareness like the transfer system does. And so we were a bit more deliberate about breaking up those chunks of text with images and videos and font sizes and spacing and white space. So if you haven't taken a look, take a look and I don't know, be impressed. That aside, the heavy lifting of the project involved the development and implementation of the publication and resources database and search optimization changes. So BCCAT has hundreds and hundreds of reports published over and stored over the past 30 years. And we needed to develop a file management and naming practices to aid in more effective organization and search functionality, both within the backend content management system and as well as on the public facing search on the website. We also wanted to tackle improving and frankly, understanding more effective like SEO practices, like how do we get on the first page of Google, which we are because you type in transfer in BC, we are there. So perhaps we're doing it right even without understanding it, but we wanted to understand it a bit better. So that happened as well. And then the BCCAT team, we transitioned thousands of resources like images, reports, meeting minutes, and other digital collateral from the previous CMS to the new CMS. And this work was very tedious and very time consuming, and I would not wish it upon anyone, but it was necessary. And I'm really, really pleased with the improvements that we've made to the website for the person who comes to our website searching for information about our transfer system. So hopefully take a look if you get a chance. Mike, you want to move on to the next slide? So with the BC Transfer Guide, we focused on user support enhancements. So this past year, we were able to implement a couple key enhancements that were recommended in the external review that had been previously conducted on the BC Transfer Guide, namely, or the crux being to provide better help and support features for that transfer student who is on our site trying to understand this transfer system in BC and get the information that's relevant to their particular situation and their particular post-secondary transfer goals. Simple things we added. We added a hover or mouse overs on words that might need a bit more explanation. Again, there's a lot of a sector-related terminology that people just might not be aware of and or understand. We added a guided tour so that folks who aren't certain how to use the course-to-course search tool could have a bit more direction on using that tool. And so we're hoping that that will help when people don't know which drop-down button to use or which button to click to get to understand to and from, which is a very, which is a little bit of a difficult concept sometimes even for me. And I use this search tool a lot. And we also increased the visual prominence of other transfer options outside of the C2C or course to course on the homepage, and then that navigation from the homepage to that content related to that transfer option. One of the more, I guess, more common things now that we see in other websites is we added a client management system on our website. And so that's indicated by that email icon that lots of websites now have the bottom right of the screen to bring that help a little bit closer to the person when they might need it. And so that CMS also houses a built-in knowledge base. So we worked on developing that knowledge base. So then if a student encounters an unfamiliar concept or word, and they can just search that knowledge base, and hopefully they can get the answer that they need without sending that email. And then they can also do so without leaving the page that they are currently perusing. So that was some of the stuff that we worked on with the BC Transfer Guide, and you can look forward to even more coming. Mike, if we can go to the next slide. Yeah, okay. So with the TCS User Design, we got some really, really good feedback from our user acceptance testing volunteers from our PSI partners, and that was related to the development features. But we also got some really good design related feedback. And so what we did is, given that, and we struck an internal project team from a BCCAT user-centric design project team. And then so we've added some improved styling of the TCS. And so that was really, really nice. So you can see some excerpts of some mock-ups of what we're hoping to showcase shortly, and actually launch, I guess, shortly. Some changes are subtle, and they include like things that you almost take for granted, like consistency in button sizes and heading sizes and font sizes. And we knew over the years, over the I don't know how many years, like some changes had been made a little bit more ad hoc so that there wasn't that kind of flow that could exist. Like you kind of noticed that something was a little bit off, maybe if you looked at it as closely as I did sometimes. Other changes like the ones highlighted in the mock-up on the screen right there on the evaluate page will be a little bit more noticeable. For those that use the TCS regularly, you'll notice that the options specifically related to the request itself have been set apart from the course and agreement sections. And then there's that box there. We've added alert icons and information icons to provide visual cues for the user to show them that something's happened and or that there's something with the agreement that needs to be addressed. And I'm happy to say that we, and by we I mean our developers, have created a style guide, and you can kind of see some like the primary buttons and secondary buttons and tertiary buttons, and then the special tertiary button. Like those things have been set out in a style guide so that we don't have to like rely on our memory at all to add that kind of styling formatting when we make new changes or add pages or new functionality to TCS. So we're excited to see it. And honestly, it's kind of subtle, but for someone who's participated in these projects and from our volunteers, I really appreciate the feedback, because it just has that kind of clean look, and it's something we can be proud of. Anyways, so that's the TCS User Design. So.
All right. Thanks, Jen. We're all very excited to see those changes implemented in the upcoming year. I think it's going to make the TCS look really great. What I want to talk about now is one of the major projects that we're working on that is going to hopefully improve some areas within the TCS. So one of the issues that has sort of come to light, and this was also reflected in our external review a little over a year ago, was that there's not a lot of information about the actual courses that are in the TCS. And this can sometimes cause problems when it comes to articulation. For example, if a course is cross-listed with another course, if a course is not for credit, so perhaps a continuing studies course as opposed to an undergraduate course, if a course is adult basic education or a university preparatory course, and it gets submitted through the TCS, one of the things that we're looking at is adding attributes to a particular course to help better identify what type of course it is and how it relates to additional courses. So for example, if there is a course that is submitted for articulation and it is cross-listed with another course for articulation, we'll be able to indicate and link those courses so that you don't need to evaluate the course multiple times thinking it's a different course, but will instead be able to articulate it all in one spot. You know, we also have institutions like SFU that use WQB attributes, which are assigned to transfer agreements. And sometimes those attributes carry with the course all the time, and sometimes they are added on a case-by-case basis. And so what we want to do is add in the ability to build in course attributes so that you can better automate workflows. So for example, if you wanted to create a rule that says that you will only review university level courses, we'd be able to do that based on the course attributes that are assigned to a course. Likewise, if you want to have ESL or adult basic education courses articulated, we can build in attributes that help direct that workflow. All of that leads us to improvements into the BC Transfer Guide. One of the things that users are required to know is, you know, what subject is a course, what is the prefix, what is the course number, and that can actually represent a barrier for students who are not fully versed in the nomenclature of the post-secondary course catalog. Eventually, what we want to do, and our intention, is to start integrating some of the different transfer guides. Right now, we have a separate ABE, Adult Basic Education Guide. We have a separate English as a Second Language Guide. We also have International Baccalaureate and Advanced Placement Pathways. And we'd like to get that all integrated into a single course interface. Likewise, we also want to start showing information about when a course has been renumbered or re-prefixed. There might be a student who took a course that was numbered something differently 5 or 10 years ago, and they may not know that that course has been changed to a new number or a new prefix. We do now, with the Atomic TCS, have the ability to extrapolate that data from within our system and have that reflected better in the BC Transfer Guide. You know, other things that we'd like to include are things like the course titles. We're not going down the road yet of talking about putting on course outlines, but that might be a discussion for future consideration at some point. So this is going to be a broad project that we've already started doing the legwork on. We intend to continue to expand out upon this in the months ahead. I'm going to now pass the baton back to Jen, who is going to talk to us about the road ahead on the Pan-Canadian and international equivalency front.
Yeah. Okay. So last year we began the famous TCS Suite project. If you haven't heard, please contact us. We would really like to talk to you about it. And we worked with a handful of post-secondary institutions to add their Pan-Canadian and international course-to-course articulation agreements into the TCS. So if you don't know about it, please talk to us. Please talk to your PSI colleagues. It was quite successful from our front. we cleaned up that data. It's there. It's accessible to all BC Transfer System members who have TCS accounts. You can see what they've given to another institution outside of the BC Transfer System, outside of our system. So this year, now, we're taking that information and we're working on how that information will be searched for and displayed on the BC Transfer Guide. So students can actually now access that information publicly. It's a good opportunity. It is a really good opportunity, actually has been, to look at the content on our site and see how we can get a student from outside of BC who may not speak English from the homepage to the transfer-related information and tool or agreement that they in particular will need when they're thinking about studying in BC. So other jurisdictions work with credit, transfer credit differently, and we're not all the same. And we want the BC Transfer Guide to be able to clearly convey how our system works and provide that transfer student with information about what and where they will get credit for the equivalent learning they've obtained elsewhere. So we're already familiar with this. We do this within BC, within our transfer system members, and now we're just allowing, we're recognizing the fact that students are coming in from outside of our system. And so that's something we're really looking forward to launching this this fiscal year. And so look forward to it, and we'll probably improve it over the years, but I am excited about it. I think it's a good service to provide for our students. So, and that takes us to something a little bit further down the road. So blocking other credential type agreements. So we're going to be working on this later this year and into the next, and likely laddering off the course attributes project that Mike just mentioned. Because what we're going to try to see is how we can develop and define data elements so that the TCS can also provide a workflow to ensure block and other credential transfer agreements are effectively captured, both in terms of accuracy, currency, legitimacy, and timeliness in our TCS. We have a lot of different PSIs out there, our partners, our transfer system, and you can see the numbers listed there on the slide. And they each likely manage these types of transfer agreements differently. Some may have systems and workflows and processes in place, but that may not be the case for every PSI, for every institution. And so there is a knowledge gap there for transfer students that are seeking this type of information. So we're hoping to tackle this service and to provide those transfer options outside the more familiar course to course that we're really comfortable with. And it's available within most PSIs internally, we know, so that we can indirectly and directly support those principles listed there, like access, affordability, flexibility, efficiency, and success. And we really truly want to help our very diverse and very mobile student population to achieve their post-secondary transfer goals. So look forward to that as well. Probably not launched this year, but coming shortly. So we're excited about that as well. And that's that for that.
All right. Thanks, Jen. And so just to wrap this up, I wanted to let you know about a couple of other options that we are looking at. I'm not sure if we're going to get to them in this fiscal year, but we are definitely looking to implement them, if not this year, then in a future fiscal year. And that is on the issue of triangulation, reciprocity, and integration. So with the Atomic TCS and the data now properly broken down, the TCS now does have the ability to identify opportunities for triangulated equivalencies. We know that some institutions have an informal policy of triangulation where they will see how a sending course articulates at a larger institution, and then they will base their own equivalency on that type of recommendation. Well, the TCS has the ability to go through the data and identify potential situations where if course A equals course B and course C equals course B, then maybe course A can equal course C. Hence the word triangulation. Just to be clear, we're not going to be automatically creating triangulated equivalencies. The institutions obviously have to sign off on any particular agreement. However, what we do have the ability is the option to identify opportunities, and that is a project that we think is quite achievable based on our new data model. Likewise, reciprocity involves reversing a transfer agreement. So if you have an agreement from sending course A that equals receiving course A, can you reverse the agreement in the other direction, particularly if it's a direct credit equivalency? This is something that I think would be actually quite easy to achieve, and it would give the institutions an option to quickly reverse a transfer agreement so that they can create an equivalency within the BC Transfer Guide. Within the Transfer Guide, agreements are considered one way, but there are students and users who do make the assumption that courses transfer the same way back. And there are sometimes reasons why you don't want to have a reciprocal agreement. There can be differences in the course content or the rigor of the course that doesn't make reciprocal agreements possible. But we do have the ability to, at least on a technological level, enable and facilitate the faster creation of reciprocal agreements. So that's a project that we're going to be looking at as well. And finally, banner integration. And this ties into some of the work that Jen and I have been doing on the TCS Suite with regards to gathering information from internal transfer tables. Those transfer tables are by and large located within student information systems, such as Banner, such as Colleague. And we now have web services that enable the integration into student information systems. So one thing that we've always wanted to achieve, one thing that I've always wanted to achieve, is the ability to update multiple data sources at the same time. Right now, when users update the TCS data, it's not connected to the transfer tables within your student information system. Well, it would be quite fun and quite great, quite frankly, if we could have a situation where when you update an agreement in the TCS, it can push that update into your banner tables automatically. Likewise, if you add an equivalency into your banner tables, wouldn't it be nice if that data could be pushed into the TCS so that it could be published in the BC Transfer Guide? This one is obviously going to be a complicated project, but it is one that we think is particularly feasible. And we have already been in discussion with our colleagues at our sister agency at Education Planner BC about using some of the infrastructure that they already have with regards to application services so that we can take advantage of some of those efficiencies so that we can use their infrastructure to help develop a bit of a network that allows us to push and receive data from your systems. So all in all, I think it's been a very busy year. We're quite proud of some of the things that we've accomplished so far, and we're very excited about where we're going in terms of the future developments. And so at this point, what I'd like to do is switch over to the live room, where we're happy to answer any questions you might have put into the chat and speak to any of the things that we have presented on today. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are back to the live room. Thank you to everybody who listened in on our session. As you know, I'm Mike. There's my colleague Jen in another part of Vancouver. And we're going to start responding to some of the questions in the chat. So Jen, you want to let us know what we got going there?
Yes. Is it possible to add more than one user profile to the TCS per institution? Can you point me in the right direction so that I'm not sharing an account?
Yes, that's a great question, and that is something that you can do, and it's something that we really encourage. So when you log in to the TCS, there is a menu item called View, and if you open up that directory, there is an option there called Users, and that is your space where you can create one or more accounts for the different users in your institution. And so some institutions, they break up the sending and receiving functionality. So they like to have one user for sending and one user for receiving. And we really encourage people to create separate user accounts so that you're not sharing data. Anytime there's work done in the system, we track which user is doing the work for your institution. So it's a good way to keep things separate and keep things clean. So please take a look within the TCS under the View menu. And if you have any problems or questions, please just send me an email. Sure.
You can also send me an email too. This is a question with a word I don't know what it means. So Mike, hopefully you can answer. Would Jenzabar integration ever be possible? Jenzabar.
Jenzabar. So Jenzabar is a student information system. And so the short answer is I don't know for sure. So when I imagine you're talking about the banner integration project. So the process is the same. What we want to do is we would use our web services to connect into your student information system. I haven't looked at Jenzabar, so I can't say with 100% certainty, but I do have an understanding of how these data structures are created, and most of them are built to consume web services. So I think the answer is probably, but we would have to look more closely at the technical specs to find out.
Okay, that's good to know. So next question. For the people that are frequent users of the TCS, like me, this is Olivia from UBC, would I be missing anything not attending the training sessions? Is there new information or updates that are announced during these sessions?
All right, so good question, Olivia. And so the initial training session was really just more of a high level overview of everything. Our intention is to make these sessions more focused now that we've got users that have got a lot more experience. And so what our intention is to do is to announce what the topics will be in advance. And then you can decide whether you want to attend or not. And quite frankly, if you want to submit any suggested topics that you'd like to see us cover in these training sessions, these sessions are for you. And so we want to make sure that we're providing as much training as we can on the areas that you want to learn more about. So yes, there will be some difference as we move forward with our training sessions.
Okay. Oh, wait. Did I hear you say you already have the technical ability to push TCS data into an institution's banner? Did you hear you say that?
We have the infrastructure, yes. We do not have the proof of concept in place, although I have spoken to a banner developer who implied that it looked like it was a pretty straightforward process. So we don't have it in place, but it is something that we're working on. A little bit later in the afternoon, this is a plug for our 2:30 session that Jen is leading on the TCS Suite project. The 4 of the institutions that onboarded to that project are banner institutions, which is why we wanted to make that the focus of the first integration process. But as I mentioned in that Jenzabar question, the infrastructure is largely the same in terms of having the ability to consume web services. And if you can consume a web service, then that means that we can have the ability to push data into a system. It also means we have the ability to update a system, and we also have the ability to pull data out of a system. And we also plan to try to leverage the technology that our partners at Education Planner BC have. They already have a gateway into your systems using the transcript exchange hub as well as the application module. So I think that there's lots of opportunities for us to collaborate and take advantage of the infrastructure that's already in place.
I'm gonna have to chime in. I think even last year, pre-COVID, there was a topic of conversation of possibly having a pilot with some banner institutions. That's kind of been paused and is definitely not on the work plan for this year, but it is something that we were actually thinking about pre-COVID. Right. Next question: could the TenYear review be added to the TCS?
I think that's a great question. It's Karen from College of the Rockies. I think it's going to have to be, quite frankly. And in one of the earlier sessions, one of the questions was just about, I don't want to get bombarded with emails, basically, but I think that we can find a balance to integrate and take advantage of the TCS so that we can send reminders to institutions. We can build in a process to better enable reviews so that you don't have to maintain a separate spreadsheet or data source outside of BCCAT technologies.
So question from Laura Bucci, it's along the same lines as the Jenzabar and the banner. Along with banner integration, will this also be available for our colleague and Lucian platforms?
Yeah, that's the intention. We don't want to do one at the exclusion of others. The reason why I mentioned banner specifically was, like I said, we have 4 of the 5 schools using banner that are part of the international equivalencies project. The more institutions we get that have more that use different student information systems, we want to make sure that we can provide the same services and features that we can for everybody.
So Inga Wheeler, sorry, I don't have where the institution is from.
Okanagan College.
Yeah. I know, but I know where it's from.
Hi, Inga. I can't see you, but I know you. So.
But she asked, Inga from Okanagan College has asked, do articulation committee meetings and members get updates like these? If not attending JAM, how are these updates communicated out?
Yeah, so I mean, in this situation, we did normally we invite the articulation committee chairs and ask them to disseminate the information onto their members. This year, we asked them to invite the members because we're online, so we're not limited by physical space anymore. And then, the advantage of doing this online is that everything's recorded. So we do plan to send that out to the community as well. So to hopefully broaden the understanding and have people basically engage with us to learn more about the different things that we're presenting on here.
And that's a wrap for the questions in the chat.
All right, and we are actually perfectly on time. So we really appreciate everybody taking the time. The next sessions are going to begin at 2:30. We have the TCS Suite panel, which is going to be led by Jennifer Cook. And then over on the other stream, we will be having a session that provides an overview of the BC transfer system, which is a good introductory session for those that might have some understanding of transfer, but might want to know how the whole picture comes together. So thanks again. We're still going to be participating in the chat and Q&A for the next few minutes. So feel free to post your questions in there. And outside of that, we will see you at 2:30.